Hey kawan, welcome to EDCReady. The date of this filming is the 13th of January, and I just want to say that it is my birthday today, so thank you so much for all the wishes out there. And as customary of every 6 months, I will do a collection update video. So we have 6 knives on the table right now. These 6 knives are my active collection. I have a couple of other knives here and there, but that is mostly for like review purposes. Sometimes they're on loan, sometimes I bought it for a friend to give it to them, and sometimes they're just like knives I have around the house. But this, if I'm gonna pick to carry, these are my Sinister 6, and we're gonna go this one at a time in no particular order other than going from left to right. So we have here, you guys know this one, the ZTO 450 CF. One of the older knives in my collection. This knife was my first grill, and it continues to stay in my collection. I always, and I'm sure like fans of the channel have always known, if you guys watch my other collection videos, I always flirt with the idea of selling this guy, but at the same time, this guy is just really good. I think the only reason that kind of keeps me from keeping this, stops me from keeping this, is the non-deep carry pocket clip. I think I am most likely going to experiment once I get my bonus. I'm going to most likely experiment with a deep carry pocket clip. But overall, what do I love about this guy? It has amazing action. This has one of the nicest detents I've ever felt in any knife. And then the action here is pretty nice and smooth. It is running on bearings, but it's not super drop shotty. But it is it snaps out and then it just snaps shut. So unless I find a good enough replacement for a frame lock, I am gonna keep this guy in the collection. And for the new viewers out there, if you notice, most of my knives they only have one locking mechanism. What am I saying? I have a little thing in my collection which I limit myself to, which is I can only have one knife in one locking mechanism, with an exception to one locking mechanism. So this is my frame lock. Now let's talk about one of my favorite knives, one of my most carried and used knives in my collection. This is the Para 3 Lightweight. Now this is, you can see here, it has FRN scales, it has CTS BD1N steel. If you check out my, if I could only keep one knife video in my collection on my channel, this guy wins it. This guy has won it twice, where if I had to sell everything in my collection, then it would be this guy. That might change very, very soon. In fact, this guy right here, the Native 5 Salt, is gonna very much is gonna challenge this guy for the knife I would keep in my collection. However, I'm not gonna do one of those videos yet until I have a little bit more variation in my collection. I'm still waiting for a few stuff to come into my collection, then I'm gonna do that video. But what do I love about this? I really love the compression lock. It's a great lock. It is very fidget friendly. It's also very easy to maintain and take apart. It only has one moving part, which is this big slab of, which is this spring steel, which is which connects to the tang of the blade and the stop pin. Overall, I really like it. I really like the blade shape. Ergonomics are really good, and I really like the deep carry pocket clip. So a lot of features I really like about this guy. If I ever get rid of this guy, it is just because I want to get a full-on S30V Para 3 with custom scales. Now, another knife that tends to end up in my top 3, which is the Benchmade Bugout. This is the grey edition. I recently checked out the Benchmade Mini Bugout. I'm starting to wonder if I would just want a mini Bugout instead of a regular Bugout. But the regular Bugout is pretty darn good. It's definitely the lightest knife in my collection. It is quite possibly the thinnest knife in my collection. It is one of the easiest to carry knives in my collection. I end up using this knife very often. I do like S30V. It does have a nice coating, but you can see here the coating. As you can see, I was cutting up a bunch of cardboard during a move last year, and it really polished up that coating that you have there. It's not wearing out, but it's just polishing in. Now this does have a weakness. This does have a weakness, which is the Omega springs in the axis lock. This guy is only running on one Omega spring, because on the other side, it actually broke off. I have a video on that on my channel, do check it out. And I did contact Benchmade, and after weeks of no reply, they finally replied saying that they're gonna send it to me, but it's gonna take about 2 to 4 weeks because of the distance. So I'm still waiting for that. The other option is I can go to Etsy. There's a guy that sells these Omega springs, but they sell a slightly stronger, stiffer Omega spring to help with the durability of that Omega spring. And it's things like that that kind of make me not want to keep this knife as my only knife, because there is that failure point that all these other knives don't have. overall, still really like this knife. It still ends up in my pocket pretty darn often, especially when I know that I'm going to be traveling, I'm going to be moving around a lot during the day, and I want something light. Next up, we have a knife that is pretty new in my collection. Here is the Fernforge Stinger in green. So the Fernforge Stinger, company name is Fernforge, which is an American company, but this is made by We Knives. So it has a lot of qualities that a lot of Civivis, which is the budget end of We Knives, it has a lot of qualities similar to that. Sorry, it's a really good detent. Ergonomics is great. Like, I cannot get over how good these ergonomics are. Just, you can fit your entire hand into that. I have very small hands. I wear a size S glove, and there's definitely a lot of space left in here. I kind of got this guy to eventually replace this guy, okay, because this guy, although the materials are better, it's not as ergonomic as this guy, and it has a deep carry pocket clip that comes with it. And the deep carry pocket clip is not just any deep carry pocket clip, it is a recessed deep carry pocket clip where the screws and the clip itself is recessed into the handle. So I really like that. It has a very nice flipper tab, very minimal flipper tab. Initially I thought it was going to be a little bit too sharp, but because of the rounding on the edges here, very nice. I'm still working on the full review for this guy. Couple of things I don't like. Oh, another thing I really like is all the fit and finish of this knife. We have completely flushed screws, completely flush pivots. The only screw that is out is this guy right here, and that's great because you want to have more depth for the Torx bit to dig into. You can also middle finger flick it thanks to this groove right here. Although the groove is not so comfortable, it's pretty sharp on the inside. You can slow roll it with your thumb. You have some nice jimping up top, a nice chamfering on the top of the blade right here. There's only really a couple of things I don't like about this knife. Number one is you have quite a large number of screws. Once you take this guy apart and take off the clip, then you take off that screw, and then on the inside you have another screw. I think two other screws that can screw into the back spaces here. I wish they went the way of a lot of Civivis where you have a screw here, and then you just have one screw here that kind of go through from one end of the scale to the other. That would just make it, in terms of disassembly, a whole lot easier. But the other thing that kind of throws me off is the sound. Now with a frame lock, you have a kind of a much deeper sounding click when the frame when the frame lock engages, and that's because of the thickness of the frame lock. But even with this guy, it has a nice, more of a thuddy lockup to it, whereas this guy has a very pingy sound. Yeah, I don't know if you guys can hear it, but there's a very pingy sound. And if you guys have ever owned a Civivi McKenna, the McKenna also had that kind of sound signature. Next up, another relatively new knife in my collection, we have the Native 5 Salt. Now, along with this guy here is one of the grails that I was always going after, because I feel like this kind of knife really rounds out the collection. You have a nice backlock, which is very strong. The blade stock thickness is relatively thick, definitely thicker than this guy and this guy and this guy. So it's going to be a little bit more of a harder used knife. But what really enticed me to this knife is that, okay, can you see that? LC200N. This is part of their Salt series, which means that it is impervious to rust in every practical sense. And living in a hot, humid country, this is a headache-free knife. This assembly is very easy. All these screws are actually the same T8 size screws. You have a back lock, which is very easy to maintain. It's a very strong lock. You know, you have a steel and all the hardware that is supposed to be non-rustable in every practical sense. This just becomes a knife that I can just carry, use, and own without having any headaches whatsoever. And the fact that I bought this secondhand from a guy named Wilson here in the local community makes it even sweeter. It was already a great knife, but I bought it at a really good price, and yeah, I just really like it. Action is a lot better than I thought. You know, I've had backlocks before, but none of them have this kind of dropping, none of them really have this kind of dropping action. Just watch this. Oh yeah, that's good. And it has a dropping action with a little finger choil to protect your finger, rather than a rustic gen, which kind of just closes and has cut me multiple times. Now, next up, another older knife in my collection. This is Teng Santa Fe. Until today, I still believe that this is the best budget knife you can get around 30 USD and below. In fact, on Amazon, it was on sale a couple of days ago for only 25 USD, and the regular price was about 27, 28 USD. And I think you can only buy them, maybe not on Amazon, yeah, on AliExpress. You can buy it on AliExpress. Tengram is like a cousin company to Kaiser. they own the company, but they don't really do a lot of cross promoting. They don't really do a lot of sharing of designs between each other. But regardless, this is a very good budget knife. Okay, it is using a Japanese akudo, which if you are the kind of person that likes to sharpen your knives, this will be a great way for you to sharpen your skill. It has a great blade shape. It has this kind of like a sheep's foot style blade shape. I don't know what you call it. It's like a drop point, but with a bit of a reverse tanto. I don't know what you call it. It's a modified sheep's foot. So this is very nice. You have nice lock bar access. You have nice lock bar tension. Okay, it is extremely smooth for running on washes. It is very smooth for running on washes. You have a nice deep carapace clip, although the clip itself is not as recessed like this guy, but the screws are pretty shallow on, very shallow under the clip itself. So you have a lot of space for your pants to go into. Very nice clip tension, you really like that. And also, just like with this guy, all of the screws are T8 screws, which makes it very easy to take apart this guy. Okay guys, that is it for my EDC knife collection. Do share in the comment section down below what is your current active collection. Mine is 6, and how many knives do you have in your active collection? Thank you very much and stay ready.